And we're about to hear from Jürgen from Act Computers. He's been the owner for 27 years, and this is Tech Talk. How you doing, Jürgen?
Good morning. How are you?
Great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so this is a brand new show we're going to be having here weekly on Fridays at 11:30. And, of course, then we'll re-air it time to time on different various Facebooks and other what do you call them? Formats.
Mediums, yes.
Yes. How are you, Jürgen?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Now, so you are one of these, you don't look like your typical nerd, but you were gifted. Now, were you born in Germany?
Yes, I was.
So when did you know that you had an affinity for computers?
Early on, very early on. My father worked in the kind of IT industry, and he also always brought something home that was quite old to be disassembled, to be played around with.
Yeah.
So I took it apart, put it back together, and started getting interested in technology. So, thank you again for having me.
Yeah, 27 years, right?
27 years.
And he's got some old equipment in here. I think Steve Jobs actually used this one time. So tell us what we're going to be discussing today, an overview of what's going to happen in here over the next half an hour, Jürgen.
Yes. So basically, we're going to do a Tech Talk show every week. Not very nerdy thing, not very technology intense. We're talking about technology history at first, and then also I would like to take maybe live callers calling in with tech questions, how to fix certain computer problems, and how the industry is doing. And today again, my name is Jürgen Spanitz. I'm with ACT Computers, and we're just going to talk about the history about computers and how far we have come in the last 60 years now with computers. We've been around a long time.
Yeah, we've come a long way. I can't imagine my life, and I'm sure a lot of people viewing this or listening to this can't imagine their lives without their phone, their smartphone. I mean, when it goes missing, you go, ah!
Yes, I do panic sometimes when I lose my phone. It's like, oh my God, everything's on there.
Life is over as we know it. One big question is, I don't use that you have to put that secret code into your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I figured the chances of me losing my phone are not that great. I really don't have that much information I wouldn't want to share, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times a day people have to plug in that code? So do you recommend people have that code?
Yes, definitely recommend it.
Why?
It's highly recommended because you'd be surprised how much information you actually have on your phone that you don't even think about right now. The reason why you think, when you lose it, you freak out and panic because there's so much on there. So definitely recommend at least a 4-digit code, obviously not 1, 2, 3, 4, fingerprint, face authentication, anything like that. The easiest thing to really use is a fingerprint. That's what I use myself. It's very secure. But you should definitely have some kind
Can't
of
be duplicated, the fingerprint, right?
Unless you lose your finger.
How about the facial recognition?
It works very well. Nowadays the phones have gotten so smart, they recognize you even when you have your sunglasses on or you're growing a beard.
So what age were you when you first got into computers?
I was about 6 or 7 years old.
That young?
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, this was because of the influence of your father?
Yes. Because back in Germany, he was working with selling security equipment for large companies like safes and security rooms. And so he always had some old stuff he brought home that was decommissioned, and I took it apart, put it back together, and that was very interesting.
Amazing.
And the other funny thing is really that at first I really wasn't too interested in it, and I wasn't, but I was more into my He-Mans and Legos at the time, like every kid. But I had a problem in school that I wasn't very good in typing or spelling.
Really?
So then my mother thought, hey, let's get him a computer to make him more entertaining.
Because it has spell correct.
Oh, didn't have it back then. Well, didn't have it back then. No.
Thank God for spell correct today.
But just being able to type and learning how to type and stuff like that, because she was a secretary early on in her life.
Also an artist.
Yeah.
I have one of your mom's paintings at my home. Thank you for that gift.
Yes, thank you. I got one of yours too. Beautiful. So, actually, one of my first computers I'm showing off right here. This is one of the very first machines. This is actually a Commodore 64.
Now, a Commodore 60. Oh, here it is, right
64.
there. So this actually is a computer. This keyboard.
Is a computer. Yeah, all in one. This came out in 1982, I believe. This is one of mine from 83.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's missing a key, which I can't find anymore. But it still works. I hooked this thing up about 2-3 weeks ago to a television, because back then we didn't have monitors. We had televisions we plugged things into. And a tape drive with it to load my programs and games. And it still works. But, this was one of the most popular machines in the 80s. The Commodore 64 really has made my life. And I'm very sentimental towards it.
Really?
So many people in the world had this computer. Millions were sold. And one of the most successful computers out there.
Why was this so important to you?
Well, it's just, it was interesting. And first it was just about playing games, obviously. But then being able to say, okay, I can program something. I'm learning basic programming languages, making something appear on the screen and changing colors. And that's all exciting for a young guy, for a young child. And getting more involved in it. Some of the specs, I don't want to get too techie about these things, but nowadays we're talking about gigahertz and speed and processing and quad cores and many processors at once. This thing, it had 0.7 megahertz. It was 7 megahertz, so that's how slow it is.
7 megahertz.
0.7.
0.7. Now, okay, so 0.7, not even one full megahertz.
No.
And so megahertz. Okay, I'm writing that down now. How many megahertz in a typical computer today? Just an ordinary, not super expensive.
You don't really go by you'll go by gigahertz, so much higher.
So how many megahertz in a gigahertz?
1,000. So
1,000.
See the difference right now.
So 1,000. You don't even have 1 here.
Yeah.
You have 1,000 gigahertz. Hold on, gigahertz. Okay, and tell me something. How many gigahertz in an average computer these days?
Well, normally it's about 3 to 4 gigahertz.
3 to 4,000 gigahertz, which is
3 to 4 gigahertz.
3 to 4 gigahertz, which is 4,000 megahertz.
Mm-hmm. So, and back then also, if you look at the description, it says Commodore 64, which means 64 kilobyte. That's how much RAM it had. 64 kilobyte.
And what is RAM?
Memory basically is just the built-in storage for your programs at this time. It's not
64.
64.
Okay, so what is a gigabyte? What bytes?
This is 64 KB. That's all it is.
KB.
Kilobyte.
Okay, it's kilobytes.
Mm-hmm.
So all these
There's
bytes.
megabytes. So anyway, we don't have to get all technical, but this is very, very, very little. I mean, you can put more on a floppy disk than what you can put on here.
Yeah.
So
Well, this was 1982.
1983, this one exactly. Yeah.
Wow,
So,
amazing.
yeah, quite a good machine.
So how many kilohertz, kilobytes in a typical computer these days?
Well, we would go by gigabytes or even terabytes now. I mean, terabytes.
So how many kilobytes in a gigabyte?
Oh, it's 1 million. So
A million? Is it a million? This only had 64?
So-
And then you got at least a million? And how many?
let's just say nowadays your phone you carry on you has so much more performance than 1,000 of these computers together.
You know, I had a man in here, Al Ward, and my good friend Apollo 15. He's now passed on, but he told me that he went to the moon and back with about maybe 1/10 of the power of a smartphone today.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
And it's very scary too if you think about it. How back then we had no redundancy or backups, maybe a couple little things. That's it.
Now you have some other things to show us.
Yes,
from
I
the
did bring
history
some
of computers. You don't see many of these around anymore. Matter of fact, I have a.
Sorry.
We moved the camera a little bit. That's right. We had a collection of these. I want to know: should I throw those out or should I keep them?
Well, you can keep them as a museum piece if you want to. If you like to hold on
A
to the things.
museum piece.
We actually, at our store at the Kmart Plaza, we actually have a really nice museum going on. There's computer parts.
Yes,
So-
you have a museum right at ACT Computers over there.
Yeah.
Formerly the Kmart Plaza, hopefully to be the Hobby Lobby place sooner or later.
One moment.
Yeah.
I have to get my coffee in.
Delicious Starbucks espresso.
Exactly, from this morning. So I brought some other things with me. As you can see, when I started with computers, it was one of these machines, and also I worked on my father's CPM computer, which is before DOS. So this was an industrial type of computer. And at that time, we used 8-inch floppy disks.
Oh,
I'll show you
my
that.
word. I don't know if I've ever even seen one of those.
8-inch. And
that was super innovative at the time.
Oh, this was
amazing.
I mean, this computer was like 20,000 Deutschmark at the time, which was like $50,000. That computer.
$50,000?
A computer, yeah. That's how much they were back then for commercial use, yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, back then to start your computer up, you had to have one of those disks in a floppy drive to load your operating system, and then you put another disk in for your word processing to load that program on top of the operating system. So that took a long time, and then when you're all done, you could print it out on your giant printer that was noisy as it gets. And I remember the old noise. Yeah. Very loud.
Or how about when you used to turn on your computer? It would go. You've got mail.
I think you almost connected there.
You've got mail.
On the board. Yeah, it was America Online, yes. At that time, we didn't even have internet service whatsoever. And then to show you on, so we had 8-inch floppy disks first.
Yeah.
And then we moved over to something smaller, the 5.25-inch floppy disks.
Yeah.
That was really high tech at the time.
Yeah, that's a much smaller one to see the
Much smaller.
comparison. Show the big one and the small one.
Oh, yeah.
There's the big one and the small one.
So, right here.
Yeah, and so now this was super innovative. Wow, look at that. Now you didn't have to spend $50,000 on a computer, but you could get one for a lousy $20,000, right?
Yeah, less than that. And then we moved over to the 3.5 that everybody still knows.
Now, from the time I've been in Vero Beach, 29 years, we used those. We had quite a collection of those.
Yeah.
Well, these people that worked with me, I had no idea what they were for, except that some carried photographs.
Just don't do that, obviously, right? Open them up and then touch that. That's your magnetic stripe.
You don't want to touch that.
Don't touch that, no. Anyway, so this is more capacity, more room on there. And nowadays, we have none of this because everything is cloud-based, online-based.
Yeah.
You can have more information on your keychain with your USB stick nowadays. So we moved on quite a bit.
Quite extraordinary.
And
wow.
now going back in the old days, back then things were expensive with computers. Nowadays things are pretty inexpensive. We had these floppy disks, for example. They were only readable and writable from one side. And so you could put them in, one side was readable and writable. And then you could buy double-sided disks. You can turn them around. And you can read and write them on both sides because there's two sides.
So I'm thinking these came along when you were about 6 or 7.
Yeah, till I was about 12, 13, I used these things. And, well, back in the old days, to save money, and probably some guys remember this that were about the same age as older than me, we used to cut out a little notch on this side. You see this little notch?
Oh, yeah.
This notch says you can write on the front. And the drive recognizes there's a notch on this side. You can write on the back.
Oh.
So you used a little hole punch. Hopefully you didn't cut the floppy disk at the time and destroy the disk. And then you can turn it around and use the other side.
Huh.
Because both sides are magnetic.
So that was highly innovative.
Yeah. So, that was back in the days to save money. Because, you paid a couple dollars per disk. And they were, hard to find sometimes too. Yeah.
Now, what are your expectations for Tech Talk? You're going to be on here every week. Do you think, I guess, from what I understand, you want to make this knowledge available to the every man like me, a guy that doesn't understand anything hardly about tech?
Yeah, we don't want to make it so complicated and put it full of terms that, it's very difficult to follow. I want to make a nice talk every week. And also obviously have live callers calling in with their computer problems and questions, and we can try to answer them. I'll bring some guests on here too. People that worked with me in the past and people that I know from the industry. Make it quite interesting every week. And also showing off newest technology, what's out there. So, there's things coming out almost every day that we see that are news trending right now, and I'd like to show them to the public on this channel.
Do you have anything you want to show today?
Well, it's nothing new. Today we're going to talk about old stuff.
Okay.
And actually, something else I'm going to show you. This is one of my pride and joys. Wait.
He's got all this stuff in here for
There
show
we
and
go.
tell.
This
Now, what is that?
is an old hard drive.
An old hard drive. That's what a hard drive
It's
is.
very heavy. Oh boy. This is about 1986.
I want to connect my hard drive to your
Yeah.
software.
You can plug in your phone right there. I'm just kidding now. But anyway, back down in the old days, which we still now have, is hard drives, which are based on the principle of a record player. So you have metal platters that spin very, very fast. That's a hard drive. And then you have the metal arm going back and forth reading the data.
Oh, my word.
Now, obviously, in a real scenario, this is closed and it's vacuum sealed because, as Mr. Beat pointed out to me this morning, if you touch this or anything comes in here that's a dust particle, this thing is ruined.
One little dust particle.
One little dust particle.
Ruined. So this would be vacuum packed.
Yes.
Wow. So you could not repair it.
Well, you can repair them. It's just that, in general, as a user, you would never open this up. Okay.
As a user, yeah.
But you can see how mechanical it is. And this stores 17 MP3 songs in today's data. So 17 music files could actually fit on this thing. That's it. That's
Well,
all.
what does that mean? Like 17 songs?
17 of your songs. If you sing 17 of your songs, they fit on this thing. That's it.
That's it.
That's all we got.
Oh, my word.
Yep. So not much room at all.
How have we come so far? Because I can remember just a few years ago, you'd put on the computer, and as we said, you go, let's go make dinner. Maybe it'll be back. Maybe it'll be on by the time we get back upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
I mean, when we had, when I started with computers, obviously when there was no internet, so they started off with bulletin board services.
Bulletin board service.
Yes, right.
And what is that?
Basically, it's somebody hosting a library or something on not the internet, just a dial-up connection. So you connected to somebody's modem from your modem, and then you were able to download files, share stuff back and forth, and that's how everything started. Those were the BBSs. We had those in Vero Beach here. We had one called Last Unicorn, which was very popular. A couple other ones were around, but obviously they're all shut down nowadays. But then
They just didn't grow with the times, huh?
well, that transition into the internet. That's really what changed into the internet.
Yeah.
Everything's being interconnected.
Wow.
And then, of course, speeds increased, as you nicely demonstrated earlier. The dial-up sound, that was, everybody remembers that.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to connect
Forever.
to AOL and say, you've got mail. And
You've got mail. I like to do that. Does it sound like the guy?
yeah, sounds just like it.
You've got mail.
Yeah, if you actually got connected, you got mail. Yeah.
I actually interviewed the billionaire Ted Leonsis, who started AOL, which was initially started in this town under the name of Redgate. They joined forces with somebody else. I forget who it is. The guy, he's been on my show too. And what a resounding success they had.
Right.
Of course, is AOL still around? Because I get my AOL mail, but they're not. I remember when I used to get a disc in the mail. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Everybody got those discs.
But that
I
was
mean,
brilliant marketing, wasn't it?
oh, yeah. I used to take those discs and decorate my ceiling with them.
Oh, you did?
I got so many of them.
Yeah, I know. But they did pretty well.
Very, very well. I mean, AOL, yes, definitely still in business and they're doing good. It's just that they went from being in the market of being an internet provider as dial-up to be an internet content provider. So they now do advertising, email, and such things like that.
Yeah.
Because the way you get online is obviously not through the dial-up modem anymore.
No.
So hopefully not.
No.
But
There's some lady somewhere still trying to wait for a computer to come up.
in some scenarios, you still have to use dial-up. We've seen that in the past too. Some medical stuff is still dial-up and stuff like that. Still around, yeah.
Well, I just read a report last night. I'm reading a book on hunger, world hunger. And this lady came in India to the doctor's office, and he flipped the switch so the lights came on. And she said, could I flip that? What kind of power's behind that to turn that on and off? Never having seen a light switch.
Wow.
There's still people,
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of people, I think it's 300 million people a day, go hungry without proper nutrition just in India itself.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but imagine flipping a light switch. and that she was, what's the word? She thought it remarkable that you could flick a switch.
Well, you've seen how far we've come in technology nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, look at the whole show here. This show is being seen around the world. Literally is available online. Mm-hmm. We're on Facebook.
Live broadcast, Live broadcast on Facebook.
And as we come along, we'll be posting some of these on the internet for the podcast. People can go and learn more about, hopefully.
I mean, look at the influence of things in the past, for example. Just talking about, people being amazed by seeing a light switch turning on. Yeah. Nowadays, as you do yourself, you say, Alexa, play Vero's voice.
Yeah, that's what Alexa, open Vero's voice. Now they're opening all over the country right now. There you go. Because when I say it loud, she does it here. Yeah. Alexa! They get the door shut. So.
Right. So you just imagine how this was. I mean, this is something we used to watch. I mean, I used to watch Star Trek like most.
I used to watch George Jetson. Do you remember him at all?
Jetsons, of course, yeah.
Well, you're too young. Come on.
I watch Jetsons, yeah.
Meet George Jetson. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yeah. His dog Elroy. His boy Elroy.
Yeah. And the Flintstones, yeah.
That's the Flintstones. You'll have a yabba dabba doo. They didn't really have any modern stuff, did they?
No, Jetsons did. But if you, I'm going back on the topic here, when it comes to the voice recognition, we now have Alexa in the house, we have Google, Siri on your Apple iPhone, and you can talk to it.
Let's talk about security. Barbara doesn't want Alexa in the house. I bought Alexa. She made sure that they removed the Alexa that was here and put my new Alexa here, so I still don't have Alexa at home. She's afraid they're listening. Now, I will say this. I went to my nephew's house up in Connecticut a couple of years ago. It's 9:45 at night on a summer night. We're talking about corn on the cob. When we get back to the motel, the phone rings. Hey, Uncle Rhett, I just got 3 recipes that came up on how to prepare corn on the cob. It just popped up. So the computers are listening. But it's more for marketing-wise. It's not something that people have to fear about their conversations, do they?
Yeah, it's all about making money, obviously. It's for advertising.
Yeah.
What's very important to understand is that, yes, in obviously for any kind of device in your house to be responsive to you, Alexa, Siri, whatever the heck is, it needs to be able to listen to you all the time. So just by you saying, hey Google or hey Alexa, that's just the wake-up command to let that thing do something. Okay, that's just the run command for you to tell this device. So obviously it's always listening to you. Now, the companies are saying that, they might be saving some of your conversations to be for training purposes and then delete them afterwards, and you can delete those things too by yourself. You can do that. But I don't think actively is anybody listening to your conversation. I mean, there's too much going on the planet for everybody to be listening in.
We had a thing in my younger years. This is something it was called Cinema Verite. It was this nouveau thing where you put on the camera and you just let the video run all day. Well, people found out that their lives are quite boring because most of what transpires in our lives is inward. I'm driving in my car. It's boring. I'm inside visiting Italy. I'm inside visiting, what am I going to do next summer on vacation? I'm all these thoughts. We're emotional beings.
Right.
But if you watch somebody's life, normally it's kind of embarrassing how boring they are.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't be too concerned about it.
No.
That's nowadays, your life's being tracked, I hate to say it, wherever you go.
Yeah.
Through cameras, through your phone. So that's how they target advertising.
The dangerous thing is, guys like you'll be teaching more about this. And you brought in an expert a few weeks ago about, people responding to emails. If you don't know where it came from, don't open it. They'll freeze up your computer and they'll hit you up for money. Right. Or I had a thing from Chase saying I've been violated or compromised. I almost sent them that they want my information. Well, if they want my information, if they're Chase, they should have my credit card information. Don't respond.
Right.
There are tricksters out there.
That's actually something we're going to be talking about on the show too, how to keep yourself safe and protected. I'm actually going to do a live phone call to one of the scammers. We're going to do that next time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. How will you get them on?
Well, I get emails every day from them saying, hey,
so you're going to respond.
So I'm actually going to call them back using an invisible phone number and talk to them and see how far we let them into a fake computer. So we're actually going to have a computer on the set here where they can get in.
That's a great idea.
And just show them, hey, what you can do.
I was trying to sell my recreational vehicle a few years back. And a guy from Texas who said he worked on one of those oil rigs said, hey, I want your RV. I'll pay full price. We're going to work it out so you can leave it at a parking lot in Orlando and blah, 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 blah. I went to see Sheriff Eric Flowers. He said, no, don't do it. It's a con.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
If in doubt, call the sheriff's office or call ACT Computers and ask for Jürgen or
Cameron. Cameron will help you.
Cameron's a very educated young man, really, when it comes to this stuff. By the way, what's the phone number over there?
Oh, it's 772-567-7888. Easy to remember.
Okay.
Our website is actcomp.us, and we put specials on there every day. And also, we're very active on Facebook. So if you look for Facebook and look us up, we're on the ACT Vero. We post there every day. Actually, this is going to be live on Facebook today. Also,
yeah, you're live now, and then you'll repost it to yours.
Oh, yes, we'll have that on there. Lots of things going on. And we also have a very nice storefront. So if you come in and want to sit down and talk to us up front, you can relax by the fountain up front.
Yes.
The beautiful fountain that my
Lots of space. Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Beautiful place.
You also have a machine that created something for me recently.
Yes.
And it's right here behind the ACT computer card.
Yeah, you can take
it's this right here.
Yeah.
Now, that was made from a machine. What do you call that machine?
That's called a 3D printer.
And, a 3D printer.
Yes, and that's another topic we're going to... Well, a lot of things to talk about. So that's another endeavor we're getting into for the last couple months, very heavily, is 3D printing and educating people how to run a 3D printer. We already had some classes, public classes. Right now, we do them for free.
Oh,
we have enough people coming in.
Free classes at ACT Computers. Over on US 1, formerly the Kmart Plaza.
Right.
There's a good wing place there. What's the name of that wing place?
Hurricane Drill and Wings.
Well, yeah, right across.
Wings, yeah.
If you're sitting there, you can look out, you'll see ACT Computers right across the parking lot.
Yeah, you can come to us, have a class, and then go over there, have a beer and wings at the place.
Or stop into the Salvation Army store that's from your corner, too.
They actually moved. They're not there anymore.
Oh, they're not there anymore?
Not here anymore. No.
Oh, okay.
No. But yeah, we'll be talking about that, 3D printing. I'll be bringing one of my technicians on the show that actually handles the 3D printing part. But it's a great technology. It's you can prototype your own objects at home now, and even if you're missing something for your car, let's say you're missing your door handle on the inside, you can print your own door handle. I mean,
that's crazy.
It doesn't take a genius to print these things.
You know, my iPhone froze up the other day, and I immediately got some information on how to unfreeze it. If somebody has a question for you,
yes,
for a future show or just a question for you at all, what's a good email address to get in touch with you?
Best thing to do is actually send us one through DM, direct message, through either Facebook, through
through Facebook.
You can also go on our website. If you go on our website, you see a chat box right away. That's manned 24 hours a day. You can actually type something in there, and it will respond to you.
Really? Now, it contacts one of the persons that work for you?
Mainly me.
Okay, mainly you. But I also want to say this. One thing that really impressed me when I first met you was people who run businesses, they need their computers working. And you have like a 24-hour policy?
Yes,
24-hour policy?
Yes, we do. I mean, obviously, one of the most important things is for your business to be continuing when things go down on your network. So we actually have a 24-hour return service for your computers. And many times it's actually shorter, so that in case something like a server goes down or an employee's machine goes down, we can repair it within a couple hours.
That's like an insurance policy. It doesn't cost them anything. If you work with ACT Computers, you've got the guarantee. They're going to get it up and working so you don't lose money if you're a business person.
Right. We don't want to let anybody hanging.
And it goes for people like me, too, with our little computers.
Exactly.
Now, you also have computers for sale at ACT Computers, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been building machines since 1995. I'll bring you some stuff on the show, too, we can show.
All right.
Yep.
Looks like we are out of time for today, Jürgen. Isn't that amazing how quick it goes by?
That was it, right.
And
amazing.
Learning about his very first computer, which he used to love, and computers going from $50,000 to now you can get a nice little computer like the one you have right here in the showroom. I mean, in this
$500.
To $500. Right. Amazing.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I'll be on next week with some more interesting talk. And send us some messages, and we'll answer them on the air.
All right, thank you, Jürgen.
Right.
And for any more information, contact ACT Computers.